was the spring of my senior year in high school, and creative writing was my favorite class. One day, our teacher came in and told us it would be mandatory for us all to participate in the Poetry Out Loud National Recitation Competition. At 17, creative writing was my favorite class, and public speaking was my worst fear. So I went to my teacher after class and I begged her to let me out of the performance. And she told me, "I'm sorry, you can either perform or take the grade reduction." And then she looked at me and she handed me a large book of poetry and told me to pick one. I flipped through the book, and a few pages in, I came across Laurence Dunbar's "We Wear the Mask." Now, it was only 3 stanzas, so I told her with glee that I would take that one. Now, being 17, I didn't actually read through the poem until about a week before the performance. So this is Laurence Dunbar's "We Wear the Mask." We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with mirrored subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all of our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but oh, great Christ, our cries to thee whose tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the while. But let the world see otherwise, we wear the mask. Now, after reading the poem, my anxiety level tripled because I realized that Laurence Dunbar was talking about the Black American identity, an identity that I hadn't really quite grasped yet, something that I was deeply struggling with. And now I realize, reading his poem, that the mask he was referring to was the mask of respectability politics. Respectability politics is a tactic used by marginalized groups to subvert or avert racism and stereotypes. They do this by doing the exact opposite of what the stereotype or racist comment would suggest. So, I'm an African American person. A stereotype about African American people is we like to listen to our music really, really loud. So if I was practicing respectability politics, I would make sure that when I was driving my car, I would turn my music on medium or low, not to disturb the other cars around me. Or if I'm having a house party, have some friends over, I'd make sure my music was low. Now, the goal of respectability politics is to raise the status of the marginalized group by counteracting this stereotype. And I mean, that sounds great, right? But I have 2 issues with respectability politics. The first is that it is a logical solution for an illogical problem. Racism is based on the idea that there is a hierarchy of races or ethnic groups, and that each of these groups has ascribed characteristics or categories. But we've known since the 1970s that there is no biological basis for race. So racism is out, okay. Since President Barack Obama has been elected in 2008, many people believe this would mark the beginning of a post-racial society in America, but as we all know, race relations have gotten progressively worse every year he has been in office. So, obviously, respectability politics as a tactic to subvert racism isn't working very well. The second reason I disagree with practicing respectability politics is that it has a tendency to destroy people. People get lost practicing respectability politics because it functions as a reaction to racism. One of the characteristics of it is that it ties group identity and success together. So if I do well as an African American woman, that's great for all African American women, which is good. But if I don't do well, that's it for black women in politics. That's it for black librarians. No more. We're out of the game forever. And while that's obviously an exaggeration, it can put a lot of pressure on someone to feel like the success or failure of their race or their group of origin is on their shoulders. Growing up, I never really quite fit in anywhere. With peers from different backgrounds, I was kind of awkward. I didn't want to come off as being too ethnic or too black because I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, a lot of my black peers referred to me as an Oreo. Now, some of you might not know what an Oreo is, but basically it's a black person that has behaviors or characteristics, likes and dislikes that are related or generally thought of as being something connected to white America. In other words, I wasn't black enough for the black people. This caused me to really question who I was as a young African American woman. Who am I that I don't really fit in anywhere? Who am I that I can't really relate to my black peers or my peers from different backgrounds? And as I started to watch my friends, my family members, and just the different kids at school and the people I was interacting with, I started to notice something. The same way that I would take up a mask so that I could make people from different backgrounds or black people feel comfortable interacting with me, they were taking up masks too. And as I grew, as I got older, as I got more worldly and knowledgeable, I noticed that probably 99% of the people I was interacting with were wearing masks to fit the standards or ideals of 1% of the population. And so I started to wonder, what is our culture that we all feel like we have to wear masks to interact with each other? Who is anybody? Who is my sister? Who is my brother? Who is the quarterback of the football team? Do I really know anybody? And is it right? Now, some people may feel that, wearing a mask, interacting with people is just the way of the world, that it doesn't matter. But it does matter. And I'll tell you the difference. How many of you have ever had fried chicken from a fast food restaurant? We can get hands, it's cool. Now, how many of you have ever had fried chicken from somebody's grandma's house, home cooking? Anybody? Which one would you prefer? Grandma's cooking? Every time, right? I would prefer grandma's chicken every time too. What's the difference? Both of them are chicken, fried and battered, breaded. They're all bad for you. You usually put hot sauce on it, yeah? Authenticity. Grandma's chicken has her special touch. Grandma's chicken is hers, it's yours, it's a part of you and your culture. And that is an expression of who you are. The food that we eat is an expression of our culture and who we are. So when we take this back to people, the fast food chicken would be the mask that we wear, the masked identity that we are presenting to the world, and grandma's fried chicken would be who you are underneath the mask. Now, if you would prefer grandma's chicken, I would assume you would also probably prefer the authentic person as well. Now, I haven't had a chance to formally introduce myself. My name is Sarah Kelsey Hall. As Susan said earlier, I am a librarian. I am an African American woman. I love ice skating. I love ballroom dance. And I love listening to Rachmaninoff turned all the way up in my car when I'm leaving from work. All of these characteristics about me are unique. A lot of them may not be your ideal of any of the labels I put out there for you. I might not look like a librarian to you. I might not act like an African American should act to you, but I'm me. And my authentic qualities that I bring to the table, I believe will shine through and put me in a better position in life and in general every time. I also believe that if we take off our mask, if we show people our authentic selves, we can pioneer the spaces in between ourselves and other people of other cultures and backgrounds. And by doing that, we can finally see Dr. King's dream realized, that we will be judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. Thank you.